So we have Bill Shea and James Landrock here. This is going to be a different presentation than what you're used to. This is going to be a fireside chat. And so if you have questions for 1-800-Flowers.com, feel free to raise your hand and I'll address those questions. And if not, I'll just continue with mine. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started, Bill. And again, thank you for joining us. And I was wondering if you could just, first of all, just kind of give us a little background on 1-800-Flowers. I know that probably all of us here in this room know a little bit about it, but you might want to just give us a little bit of the background and maybe about the platform, the retail platform on the company.
Sure. Thanks, Michael, and thank you for inviting us to the conference. And the reason the two of us are up here, I've been the CFO of 1-800-Flowers I've been with the company 29 years, and I've been the CFO for the last 26 years, but I'm retiring in about a month. And James is replacing me, and he's the new CFO, of the company. What we really started out as a floral company, as the name implies, and it really kind of evolved. We, early on, back in the 90s, we were selling flowers, over the phone. It evolved into kind of the online business, and we ultimately felt, hey, if people are buying product first sight unseen, and then they could see the product. For us to expand, we needed to expand the product offerings, and so over time, through the acquisitions that we've done, we've evolved into really an e-commerce platform for gifting, and we've ultimately started with gourmet foods, and we looked to buy Harry & David back in 2003. Ultimately, got sold to private equity. We bought several other food companies at that point in time. Then the transformational acquisition we made was Harry & David in 2014. And then as we kind of had the dual product offerings of flowers and gourmet food, we thought naturally for expressive and thoughtful gifting, personalized products would be kind of the next leg of the stool that we've had. So we found a company called Personalization Mall, very automated process where you can order up to 10 o'clock tonight, and we can have it personalized, the product personalized, and shipped out tomorrow. We lost in a bidding process to Bed Bath & Beyond back in 2016, but ultimately with all their challenges, we were able to come back in 2020 and acquire Personalization Mall. And then we've used the platform that we've had, to acquire now other businesses, in many cases buying just the IP and append that to the platform that we had. So we did that 5 years ago with Sherry's Berries, and we ultimately had the fulfillment model for flowers and for fruit bouquets, which is kind of like an edible arrangements product offering. So we used that platform and just bought the IP out of bankruptcy and developed Sherry's Berries. We did this most recently about 18 months ago with Things Remembered. People might remember the brick and mortar stores of Things Remembered, 700 stores. Well-known brand, where we bought that IP for $5 million, and ultimately using the Personalization Mall platform to have really a higher end offering than Personalization Mall had. So we have kind of multiple brands at different price points and different offerings for more affluent consumers and less affluent consumers. So we really developed into this e-commerce platform centered around thoughtful and expressive gifting.
Yep, expanded. I always like to remind people that Amazon started selling books, and they kind of expanded, and so you've done the same on the celebratory aspect of the company. I was wondering too if you could talk a little bit about acquisitions, and obviously you touched on that. It's been a big contributor to your growth strategy, and you always time the acquisitions pretty well. I mean, it seems like you buy these companies when, like you say, you buy them opportunistically, when some of those you passed on them before and then came back to you. I was just wondering if you could just talk a little bit about how you approach your acquisition strategy.
Well, first, we've done these transformational acquisitions, Harry & David and Personalization Mall, which were big infrastructures, big acquisitions for us. We've done, as I mentioned, tuck-in acquisitions where we've appended acquisitions to those. So we buy very cheaply, like I said, the intellectual property and append them to them. And we've bought capabilities. We've done some acqui-hires in more recent years, these smaller acquisitions where we're really buying the people. We bought a kind of an incubator-based company out of Virginia Tech, 3 guys that started a greeting business, really had very little external revenues, but now we have greeting cards on our site. So if you have friends that you don't want to spend a little more money, you can come to us, send a greeting card, for $5 or $6, probably cheaper than going to and buying a Hallmark card in wherever you buy your Hallmark cards, and sending them. And now you can append to that a gift card. So you could buy a greeting card and a $5 Starbucks gift card, and you have that offering for that $10 friend that you want to send something to. Really, a lot of it now is all about engagement. We ultimately have pretty extensive product offering that we have. We do have still, many of our customers are still single branded. They're the 1-800-Flowers customer, the Harry and David customer. We want ultimately you to come to us more and more frequently to buy for more and more of your gifting occasions. So we look at various acquisitions. Does that help us in that? Does that help us with that, with that engagement now? Obviously, if a great acquisition comes along, we have a very strong balance sheet, and we're very low levered, and we can move opportunistically at those. We have a history of growing both organically up until the last 2 years, and through acquisition.
You might want to talk, oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to mention myself. I ordered a gift basket myself from Harry and David, and the issue I had as a consumer is the shipping cost. It's ridiculous. I'm buying a gift at $65. It's almost $30 to ship it, and I can go to Amazon and not pay any shipping costs, or I can go to Walmart and pay no shipping costs. I haven't checked your shipping costs, but that's the issue I have with them. I'm like, why am I paying all this extra money when you can go to other avenues and get complimentary shipping?
Okay. So we have we have a Prime Light product. We call it Passport. You could buy from us at, the standard price is $29.99, but we offer it in many cases at $19.99, and you get free shipping for a year. So you could buy across our family. You can buy it 100 times, and you'll have free shipping from us. And we'd love you to come and buy 100 times from us and get free shipping from us. So we do have that, and we do look at our shipping charges compared to what our competitions are. We have free shipping offers from time to time. Again, we have the Passport program from time to time, but we're comparable to other companies. But yeah, we hear stories. People don't like shipping costs anymore. We do have an offering for you if come back.
Yeah, try out their Passport.
Try out Passport.
Yeah, exactly. You also touched on it, Bill, about your technology innovation. Obviously the firm started with the 1-800 phone number. I was wondering, and it's been a critical part of your success, and I was wondering if you could just elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, so we have evolved over time, right? This started out back in 1976 as one flower store. Right? In 1986, Jim, bought the rights to a watch line that spelled 800 flowers and built a business around a watch line. We started, and we were always early adopters, right? So then in 1992, we tested selling products online on CompuServe. Some of you may remember CompuServe. And then in 1994, sold product on AOL. We were the first merchant to sell products on AOL when they were sending out all those discs and trying to figure out what their business model was. In 1995, had our first transactional, website. You fast forward a little bit more during the banking crisis, financial crisis. We were investing in mobile technology, and all of a sudden, by 2001, we had all the mobile apps. 2011, we had all the mobile apps, and now we're a mobile-first company where the large majority of our traffic and a significant amount of our revenues is coming on phones. We also tested 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, when Amazon introduced Alexa. Right? We thought voice, and that would be the next, the next big, customer acquisition tool for us. So we were, before you could buy a product from Amazon on Alexa, Domino's Pizza and 1-800-Flowers were the first two vendors you could buy a product on Alexa for. Never has really developed into the big revenue channel that we were hoping it to be, but we think voice, there is, things are coming back to voice. Now we're sitting with, like everybody's, hot button, AI, and how do we utilize AI as the next, opportunity for the company. And we've started, before people were talking about AI, we were moving more and more of our customer service platform from, talking to an agent, whether it be for a sales call or a customer service issue, to both email and to ultimately to chat, and then chat bots. And the chat bots were ultimately, powered by artificial intelligence. And we're doing it at the front end of our system, of our how we access you. And we're making our, the path, that you see more personalized to you based upon artificial intelligence, and are you a lookalike to someone who's already been with us? Or do we have information about you? Have you bought from us in the past? And all of a sudden, your journey, I always use the example, I got James and I got, Andy here, and James is always a $100 gift buyer, and Andy's a $25 gift buyer.
That's because I'm standing up here.
Yeah. Sometimes it's reversed.
Depends how close you are to Bill.
Right. So if James comes to the site, we should not be featuring him, lower price point items. We should be featuring him items that, that he, typically buys. And the same thing for Andy. We shouldn't be featuring high priced items for Andy when he's, really, his history says that he's looking like, or he's a lookalike to someone that's buying at a lower price point. So we're starting to embrace, AI in what we do. And obviously, we'll continue to, dabble in that world and see how that technology can help your journey better as a customer, to us, and us become more efficient in driving out, labor costs out of the business.
No surprise to anyone in this room, I think, is that everybody is going online to buy products, and e-commerce trends are continuing to grow. And during COVID, your business just exploded, and you have businesses that doubled in revenue in just a quarter. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the growth spurt that we saw during COVID, and maybe that the little weakness that we have seen recently in the revenues at the company. And do you believe that it's like now you're just giving back what you get in COVID, or do you think that it's just now we're getting back to more normalized levels?
Well, I think prior to the pandemic hitting in March of 2020, our fiscal 19, which ends in June of 19, and our fiscal 20, so the first 9 months of fiscal 20, so the March quarter of fiscal 20, we were growing organically, in that 8 to 9%, range. So that was not acquisition, that was organic growth. And then, March of 20 hits, and everyone's wondering what's going to go on. And all of a sudden we exploded. As people were not, going into the office. We had employers. Our B2B business grew tremendously as employers wanted to connect not only with their customers, but with their employee base. People weren't going out anymore, so they started to, with their small group of friends, entertain in the home. And all of a sudden, the food side of the business, Harry and David, prepared meals and various, platters of cheese, platters and stuff, just exploded for us, and we grew tremendously. And so, we went from, 1.2 billion to almost 2.2 billion, pretty quickly over a couple of year period. Then the macro economy, obviously we were comping against those pandemic numbers, and the macro economy, global supply chain, hit. It affected not only our gross margins, but we couldn't get inventory. Our labor costs went, significantly up. Commodity costs went up. Ocean freight costs went up, and all of a sudden our margins got impacted. And the consumer was struggling as inflationary factors were impacting people. Even today, you go to the grocery store and you're like, oh my God, I just bought 2 bags of groceries and it's $150. So it has impacted the consumer. And so after a period of from 2012 to 2022, us having a CAGR of about 12% growth and growing from 750 million to 2.2 billion, we've gone backwards 9% each of the last 2 years. Our guidance for this year is flat to down single digits, mid-single digits. So in that kind of 0 to 4 to 5% down range. We think this is the transition year. And again, we're a June year end. This is the transition year for for us, and that by next year we start growing again.
And so I'm going to turn to James.
All right.
So yeah,
Give you a break, Bill.
It's not just that you get to stand up. It's not just that you can stand up here and look handsome. So can you tell us a little bit about the growth drivers in your business?
Yeah, so we have a number of growth drivers through our relationship innovation initiatives. So the first is we continue to introduce new products and enhance our product offerings. So for example, we recently launched Cheryl's Ice Cream. On Wolferman's, we just launched the New York Style Bagel. And as Bill mentioned, through our acquisition of Carlisle, we've now offered greeting cards. And the importance on the greeting cards is we believe that, it's a $5.99 greeting card. Again, if you want to, add a gift card to that, so we think not only, does it, get to that segment, it also will improve and increase our engagement to get the consumer back. Frequency is very important, the repeat business. So we believe that will drive that. We've done a lot of work around our merchandising. So we right now have a enterprise-wide merchandise database. So if you come onto flowers and you're looking for an arrangement, obviously the first couple of things will be a floral arrangement, but what we will do is we will present to you a Harry and David's basket or Sherry's berries. So to kind of start exposing our consumer to the multiple brands that we have. We also continue to work on our user interface, make it more frictionless, the checkout process. And as Bill mentioned, on that front end, with AI, it's personalized. So I won't use the example again, but when you come onto the site, if we know who you are or you're logged into the site, we'll personalize that experience to you. So we'll do that. And again, we're continuing to look at engagement. We continually evaluate our product offerings, our price points, and our bundles. We offer bundles. We want to make sure that we have the right product, the right gift for the right consumer segment, right? If someone's more affluent, they're going to want, they're potentially going to, be spending on, a more affluent gift. But we also want to make sure that we have price points for the less affluent. So we're continually looking at that. And a very, two real important customer cohorts is our multi-branded customer. So our multi-branded customer typically buys 2 to 3 more times than a single branded customer. So a multi-branded customer represents about 13% of our customer base, but 28% of our revenue. So we believe there's opportunity to continue to try to increase and grow the multi-branded customer. And a lot of things that we're doing is presenting our brands to the consumer when they come onto the site. As you mentioned before, we have our Passport loyalty program. We have about 1.1 million members, which represents 10% of our existing our total customer base. And again, that represents 20% of our revenue. So you can see with the frequency and the customers, there's a lot of, will help us drive growth. We also believe there's significant opportunity in getting more everyday gifting in our gourmet foods and baskets. Harry and David, for example, our Q4, calendar Q4, is by far their largest and most significant quarter. So how do we increase, the everyday gift giving of our food brands, right? And that comes into the bundle products. Right now, you can buy flowers with Harry and David wine, or you can buy flowers with Cheryl cookies. So we're bundling those products together. So we believe that we have, through our relationship innovations, we believe we have some really good, significant growth drivers to increase revenue, increase frequency. And the great thing about, return buys from a cost of, you have no cost of acquisition from a repeat customer as you do with a new customer coming on. So they're very efficient from a marketing standpoint as well.
Talking about food right before lunch is a good idea.
You never want to be presenting before lunch, right, as they say?
Right. And so I want to go back to Bill for a second, because you talked about the revenue growth drivers, but then there's margin opportunities too. And I was just wondering if you could just talk a little bit about the gross margins and what's happened over the course of the last couple of years and what the outlook looks like for 2024.
Yeah, so I used one example before, but I'll use it kind of similarly. Look at us from 2012 to 2021. Our gross margins were very consistent, give or take 50 basis points. We're on the e-commerce side, we're at 42% gross margins. 2022 and 2023, we got hit with some of the things I mentioned before, that impacted our gross margins. So, started with the global supply chain, ocean freight, quintupled in cost. Fuel prices were high, labor costs increased, commodity costs increased, et cetera, et cetera. All that, we dipped to 37% gross margins in basically in our fiscal 22 and our fiscal 23. Last year we were back over 40% again. So we got 300 basis points back on our gross margins off the bottom, and we're climbing back. And we've said publicly that, we're climbing back towards our historical norm. And so we're going to get back to those 42%, gross margins that we have. So, we've become a lot more efficient in what we do. We spend a decent amount of money over the last, 4 years in automating our distribution centers to help offset those labor costs. So one example, our largest distribution center is in lower or southern Ohio. 4 years ago or so, our peak day, we could do about 80,000 packages out of that facility. Today we could do, north of 125,000 packages out of that facility at pretty similar labor rates, similar labor, heads because of the automation, that we have. So we've done a number of things to offset some of the price increases. FedEx and UPS, your prices are going up every year. From a standpoint, we've negotiated contracts with them. We have low annual increases, but they kept adding different types of surcharges that were bringing up a 2 or 3% annual increase to about 6 or 7, 8% increases because of surcharges. We've been able to negotiate and cap those now. So we have a much more modest increase, every year. And what we continue to do is get that inventory closer and closer to the consumer. Because if you're buying from, or if you're using in FedEx or UPS, if it has to be there the next day and you have to use their express product, for the next day guaranteed delivery, it's $25 to deliver that package. If you can use a ground delivery, which is guaranteed by them at $3, for 3 days, it's about $12 a package. If you can use a 5 to 7 day service from them, it's about $7 a package. Well, if you have the inventory closer to the consumer, you can downgrade. You can use ground, which costs us $12, and it'll get there the next day if you're within 200 miles of the consumer. You can if it has to get there in 3 days, you can use their lowest service, which is costing us $7 to deliver it, and it gets there in 2 to 3 days. So having inventory placed around the country, or doing direct loads, taking from our facilities and trucking it right to their hubs in different cities, we save money. So even though our rate is higher each year, the last 2 years, our actual cost per package is actually lower. And we continue to become more efficient in what we do, which will help us get our margins back up.
With more than 6,000 small and micro-cap companies listed, if you're looking for the next Apple, then ChannelCheck truly is your tree. It's an investor community where you can access independent Wall Street research, advanced market data, balanced news, corporate videos, and podcasts. You can even register to attend in-person Meet the Management Series lunches, and to be part of the preeminent annual Small and Microcap Investor Conference, NobleCon. And here's the best news. Since ChannelCheck is sponsored by the featured companies, premium membership requires no investment. It's absolutely free. So check it out. Log in today. Find out why ChannelCheck is North America's leading source of research on the companies that just may change the world.